Good evening, gentlemen. I just wanted to throw a bonus video out here. I know I've been doing quarterly reports, but I've been some interesting things have happened in the league in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to kind of throw a bonus video out there after 2 weeks from my last one. I'll still do another one in 2 weeks, but with 4 games left in the season, I'm seeing some trends that kind of shook up a little bit of some of my playoff and projections and some standings. So I just want to run through things and kind of talk about that. First off, I want to say that in fantasy altogether, it seems like we're trending down in scoring, and we're getting some people to win with very low scores. A 95-point win for Mr. Yunt this week. I don't know if that's the lowest win total ever, but that was pretty low. And we've all seen what Rybred's done the last 3 weeks. I don't think he's put up anything over 123, and he's 3-0 in his last 3 weeks. So good for him, but that's could be costly in the future, and I wanted to address that. So let me just run through where I see the playoffs now. Just 2 weeks after my last thing, I'll start at the top, and I wanted to say that I still like Mr. Yunt, Mr. Beast, and the Green Machine as kind of the top 3 teams. And I think 2 of those 3 are going to have the bye weeks, and that's where a big battle is going to be. And if I had to pick right now, I think Beasts is going to slide in at a 2 slot. And the number 1 slot is going to be, I think, between Yunt or the Green Machine. And those 2 meet on week 13, I believe. No, week 12. And that's going to kind of help me out, because I think the loser of that is going to bounce behind me, and the winner of that will jump ahead of me. But that we'll see what happens, and that's a big matchup in a few weeks. If I can take care of my business, I think I can get a bye, and then the winner of that Yunt Green Machine game in 3 weeks is going to be taking the 1 seed, leaving a tough 3 seed in the first round of the playoffs. So number 4, I think, is going to be Koalas. Koalas are, if they can keep scoring, which last week putting up 120 showed that they could have their issues if they can't get the quarterback play and the overall scoring, that they could lose a couple that I didn't expect. But I still think they're going to muscle through and get enough wins to take the 4 spot. They're at 6 wins now with a relatively easy schedule. I just want to look real quick. Krispy Kremes, Mike Vick in a box. Oh, I shouldn't say a relatively easy schedule. It's a tougher schedule. Krispy Kremes, Mike Vick in a box, Green Machine, and Heroes is who he has left. But I see him winning a couple of those, getting to 8 wins, maybe winning 3 of those, getting to 9, depending on how his team can score. But I still like him to hold down that slot. And a big part of that is because the people behind him, the 5, 6 people, I don't see really catching them, because they are going to have their own trouble scoring. And that's where I go to number 5. Number 5, I'm going to go with Rybred. Rybred has put himself up to 7 wins with very low scores, and that is going to burn him in the next few weeks. Green Machine and Mr. Yunt are 2 of his last 4 games, and I can't see even bad scoring from Yunt and Green Machine should win those games. But he also has the DCs in there, which should be a win. And then I think his big thing is going to come down to the last game of the season. We plays Krispy Kremes, and we'll see if his scoring can rebound, and if Creamers can keep things going. That might be a pivotal game for at least playoff seeding for him, if not making the playoffs. So we'll see how things go for Rybred, but I still have him at number 5. The number 6 spot is kind of interesting, and even the number 5 spot, because if Rybred keeps sliding, he could lose 3 of his last 4 and put himself at just 8 wins, which still will make the playoffs. But the big thing is my projections. I could see 2 teams that I really didn't see in the playoffs just a couple weeks ago, either Krispy Kremes or Island of the Misfit Toys, which would be pretty wild to see if the Island of Misfit Toys could somehow sneak in. I had always predicted that they would be a team that would find a few wins, sneak up and bite a few people like they just did against the Koalas last week. And maybe that trend continues where they find some scoring out of players that you just don't expect. Or he has Dalvin Cook and Aaron Rodgers, so he's got a good base where he could, start with some good scoring. And if he finds those lucky touchdowns like he did from Agnew last week, those types of things, you never know. So that would be wild if he could slide in. Looking at Misfits' remaining schedule, he is playing Madden's Ultimate Team, Krispy Kreme's, Shinwoo's team, and then Mike Vick in a Box. All of those teams are very capable of low scores, and all of those teams are capable of losing to Misfit. So Misfit's got 4 wins. They could win 3 of the last 4 and put themselves in 7 wins, and who knows? That could be good enough to get into a playoff, which would be wild. Krispy Kreme's is kind of also in that same spot, although he's got another win in hand with 5 wins already. And Krispy Kreme's is finishing up with Vegas, Misfits, the DCs, and Rye Bread. If scoring goes on the way it has been, he's got 2 wins already with DCs and Rye Bread just because he's been outscoring them regularly. So it comes down to, can he beat Vegas in an upset like Misfits did last week? Or I think a big matchup will come next week when he plays Misfits. And that game, Misfits versus Krispy Kreme's, could be for a playoff spot, which is kind of wild. Okay, so I actually have one of those sliding into the number 6 spot and making the playoffs. The team I have out is Mutt, the Madden's Ultimate Team. It's just not working out. Too many injuries. And as he posted in his talk, which I agree with 100%, it's gross who you have to find to start. And it's just, there's no predictable players out there. And it just makes you sick who you have to put in. And I feel like I've had that all season I've never had a full 9 starters that I felt good about. And Johnny is going deeper because he's got more injuries, and it's just a hard team to get to start. And then it's hard to find points. And so I think now with his loss last week, he may be in a hole that's too big to get out of because it's not going to be a consistent scoring team. So his remaining schedule, Misfits, that's going to be a big game this weekend. Then Heroes Dynasty Deserves, who I'll talk about in a minute. Then Mike Vick in a Box, and then he has to play Yunt. And with, what does he have, 4 wins? 5 wins. 5 wins. He's got to win at least 2 of those to have a chance. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do it with the teams, with the scoring that he can do. Okay, so then that leaves me with the wild cards, the outside shot. Mike Vick in a Box. He put up 155 last week. Mike Vick in a Box could do that and could pick off some people. Big game starting this weekend. Scoring-wise, last week I put up 151. Mike Vick in a Box put up 155. We could have the same type of thing happen, and he could get a win this week against me, and that would be sending him up to 5. And then the remaining of his schedule, Vegas, Man's Ultimate Team, and then Misfits. If he wins 2 more of those, that could put him at 7 wins. And again, that could be enough through tiebreakers to get into the playoffs. So he actually has a shot, even being 4 and 6. I think he could still do it, but it has to start this weekend. If he loses to me, I think that's it. Because I don't know that he beats me and then goes on to win his last 3. Loses to me and then goes on to win his last 3. But he has to win 3 of 4. So big matchup for him this weekend. And then the Heroes Dynasty Deserves. It's kind of crazy. It's a team that is still going to score. He might even pull off a high score for the league sometime this year still in the last 4 weeks because that team is very capable of putting everything together. But I think he is out because even winning out 7 wins, I don't know that that's going to happen. And if it does, he needs other things to break his way to get to that tiebreaker to go in. And he has matchups. He's got a couple of easier matchups, the GCs, and he's playing me when I have a few key guys on bye. But we'll see what happens against that Mutt game. So he could win his next 3, and then he has to play Vegas Koalas in the last week. And it could come down to needing a win over Vegas Koalas just to get into a tie-breaking situation and get there. So right now I have them out. But again, when I do my report in a couple of weeks, it could be a different picture. We don't know. But in any event, what I mainly want to report is I actually am projecting a possible playoff for Island of Misfit Toys or Krispy Kremes, which I did not have on the radar just a couple of weeks ago. So let's finish up with just a couple of big key matchups I see this weekend. First of all, Krispy Kremes playing Vegas. This is where I'm talking about. Vegas needs to rebound, show that he can score again, but it's a huge game for Krispy Kremes. He put up 160 last week, which was second highest in the league. If that's what this team can bring with that kind of, if you look at his roster, it's like, where does 160 come from? And it's capable of doing that. And he was even missing, Ben Roethlisberger was, he's not worth a lot of points, but he didn't have his, one of his quarterbacks. He started the Stevenson guy from New England, and he ended up being great. So those types of things could happen, and Krispy Kreme could take down the Koalas, and that would be a huge win, putting him at 6, leaving the Koalas at 6, and then all of a sudden it's a race for those two. And then the other one is Mr. B versus Mike Vick in a box. It's a big game for both of us. I think I've got playoffs. Even if I lost out, I think 8 wins is enough to get into the playoffs. And I still play DCs and Mun, Shinmu Mun. So I don't think I'm going to lose those two. So I think I'm in the playoffs, but it would be a big win for me because I still would like to get a bye. And that's going to be really important if I have a shot at making it to a championship. And of course, Mike Vick in a box, he pretty much needs to win out. So big matchups this weekend, Krispy Kremes in Vegas, and then Mr. Beast against Vick. And in 2 weeks, we have a lot of matchups that are going to be very, very important. And that would include Mike Vick in a box again against the Vegas Koalas. We have Krispy Kremes versus Misfits, who I think the winner of that has a good shot at grabbing number 6 spot in the playoffs. And then we have Mr. Yunt playing the Green Machine. That's a big one for a bye and for possibly a number 1 seed in the playoffs. And then Madden's Ultimate Team against Heroes Dynasty Deserves. If Johnny wants to have any chance, he's got to start scoring. And I think Heroes Dynasty Deserves, like I said, if they can find consistent scoring, they could win out. So that might be a very big matchup for them in week 12. So anyways, just wanted to throw a little quick video out there looking at this league. It's getting more and more interesting every week. It's kind of crazy how the scoring's going. The injuries keep coming, and it's just a battle out there. So hope everybody's doing well. Look forward to more excitement in week 11, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks to see where we're at. Have a good night.